Most people are not defeated by others. They are defeated by impulses they never learned to command. A single emotion pulls them off course. A moment of irritation exposes them. A flash of desire overrides long-term position. This is not weakness of character, it is absence of control. Unshakable self-control is not calmness by nature, dominance over the inner terrain. Those who master it move through chaos untouched, while others react, explain, and collapse under pressure. This lesson offers a transformation from internal disorder to psychological command, where nothing external dictates your behavior. Number 1, the first principle is command over impulse. Impulse is the enemy of power because it forces reaction instead of decision. Machiavelli wrote that those who cannot rule themselves will always be ruled by circumstance. Unshakable self-control begins by interrupting impulse before it becomes action. You pause not because you hesitate, but because you choose. This pause restores authorship over your behavior. Control is reclaimed in the space between urge and response. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "I command my impulses." Number 2, the second principle is emotional containment. Emotion itself is not weakness, exposure is. Sun Tzu observed that revealing inner states gives others an advantage. Unshakable self-control requires containing emotion without suppressing awareness. You feel without broadcasting. You experience without display. This containment removes leverage from others. When no one can read your emotional state, manipulation fails before it begins. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "My emotions are contained." Number 3, the third principle is delayed gratification as dominance. Immediate reward weakens long-term position. Robert Greene emphasized that discipline separates the powerful from the reactive. Unshakable self-control trains the mind to prioritize future authority over present comfort. Delay strengthens resolve. It conditions patience as a weapon. Those who can wait are rarely rushed, pressured, or cornered. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "I choose long-term power." Number 4, the fourth principle is detachment from provocation. Provocation exists to pull you into emotional engagement. Machiavelli understood that enemies seek reaction, not dialogue. Unshakable self-control renders provocation ineffective. You observe it without ownership. You do not rush to defend, correct, or respond. Detachment frustrates manipulation and preserves composure. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "I am detached from provocation." Number 5, the fifth principle is internal hierarchy. A disciplined mind has structure. Sun Tzu emphasized order as the foundation of command. Unshakable self-control establishes hierarchy within the self, reason above emotion, intention above impulse, strategic above comfort. When hierarchy is clear internally, behavior becomes predictable only to you. Others experience steadiness without understanding its source. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "My inner world is ordered." Number 6, the sixth principle is resistance to validation. Seeking validation surrenders control. Robert Greene warned that dependence on approval creates vulnerability. Unshakable self-control removes the need for acknowledgement. Decisions are guided by internal standard rather than external reaction. This independence stabilizes behavior and prevents emotional fluctuation. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "I do not seek validation." Number 7, the seventh principle is silence under pressure. Pressure reveals structure. Machiavelli observed that those who speak too quickly under stress expose weakness. Unshakable self-control manifests as silence when tension rises. Silence slows the moment. It forces clarity. It prevents regret. Those who can remain quiet under pressure dominate the tempo of interaction. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "I remain silent under pressure." Number 8. The 8th principle is consistency across states. Many appear controlled only when conditions are favorable. Sun Tzu emphasized reliability as strength. Unshakable self-control remains intact during success, failure, praise, or challenge. Behavior does not fluctuate with circumstance. This consistency builds credibility and internal trust. You become reliable to yourself first. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "My control is consistent." This is the foundation of unshakable self-control. Command over impulse, emotional containment, patience, detachment, internal order, independence, silence, and consistency form the base structure. In the next part, the deeper mechanisms will be revealed: how self-control reshapes perception, how restraint creates authority, and how those who master themselves quietly gain leverage over every environment they enter. Once self-control is stabilized internally, it begins to alter the external field around you. This is where discipline stops being personal and becomes strategic. People unconsciously respond to those who do not leak emotion, urgency, or need. Control changes how time moves in your presence. Conversations slow, pressure weakens, attempts to provoke lose momentum. This is not because you resist harder, but because you no longer provide friction for others to push against. Number 9. The 9th principle is tempo ownership. Control over self creates control over timing. Sun Tzu wrote that speed belongs to those who decide when to move, not those who react. Unshakable self-control allows you to slow moments that are designed to rush you. You pause where others hurry. You wait where others panic. This manipulation of tempo disorients opponents and stabilizes outcomes. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "I control the tempo." Number 10, the 10th principle is reaction starvation. Most manipulation depends on visible reaction. Machiavelli understood that denying reaction denies influence. Unshakable self-control starves manipulation by offering nothing emotional to feed on. No anger, no defense, no excitement, only presence. When reactions disappear, attempts to control you collapse from lack of effect. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "I starve reactions." Number 11, the 11th principle is mental endurance. Control is not tested once, it is tested repeatedly. Robert Greene emphasized endurance as the separator between temporary discipline and lasting power. Unshakable self-control persists through boredom, repetition, and delay. You do not break structure because the moment feels dull or unrewarding. This endurance outlasts competitors who rely on motivation instead of discipline. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "My discipline endures." Number 12, the 12th principle is emotional economy. Every emotional expression has a cost. Sun Tzu emphasized conservation of resources. Unshakable self-control spends emotion only when it produces return. No wasted frustration, no unnecessary excitement. Emotional economy preserves clarity and stamina. You remain sharp while others exhaust themselves through expression. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "I conserve emotional energy." Number 13, the 13th principle is unpredictability through restraint. Predictability comes from patterns of reaction. Machiavelli warned that readable behavior invites exploitation. Unshakable self-control removes those patterns. Because reactions are restrained, behavior becomes difficult to anticipate. Others hesitate, unsure how you will respond. Hesitation shifts advantage quietly. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "I am unreadable." Number 14, the 14th principle is authority through stillness. Movement attracts attention. Stillness commands it. Robert Greene observed that those who move least often control most. Unshakable self-control manifests as physical and verbal stillness when tension rises. Stillness signals confidence and preparedness. Others adjust their energy downward in response. Control spreads without effort. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "My stillness commands." Number 15. The 15th principle is impulse fatigue resistance. Impulses intensify when tired, stressed, or overstimulated. Sun Tzu emphasized preparation against internal weakness. Unshakable self-control includes guarding energy, sleep, and focus so impulses do not gain leverage. Discipline protects itself by maintaining internal strength. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "I protect my inner strength." Number 16. The 16th principle is outcome independence. Dependence on outcomes creates emotional volatility. Machiavelli understood that attachment clouds judgment. Unshakable self-control operates without emotional dependence on results. You act precisely, then release expectation. This independence preserves clarity regardless of success or delay. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "I am independent of outcomes." At this stage, self-control is no longer effortful. It becomes environmental influence. Others feel regulated around you. Pressure loses urgency. Manipulation loses traction. The controlled individual begins to shape outcomes simply by remaining intact. In the next part, the highest layer will be revealed. How unshakable self-control transforms reputation, how restraint becomes dominance, and how those who master themselves quietly gain leverage over groups, systems, and situations without confrontation. At the advanced stage, self-control no longer feels like discipline. It becomes identity. People sense it immediately, often without understanding why. This is where restraint evolves into authority, and inner command reshapes how others behave around you. Machiavelli understood that the strongest form of control is invisible. When self-control reaches this level, you stop managing moments and start governing environments. Number 17. The 17th principle is reputational restraint. Reputation forms from repeated observation, not declaration. Sun Tzu emphasized that influence begins before engagement. When you are known for restraint, people approach with caution and calculation. They measure their words, they adjust their tone. Your self-control becomes a silent warning that impulsive tactics will fail. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "My restraint defines my reputation." Number 18. The 18th principle is emotional asymmetry. Control creates imbalance. Robert Greene noted that those who reveal less hold advantage. When others express frustration, excitement, or urgency while you remain neutral, asymmetry forms. They expose leverage points. You reveal none. This imbalance shifts power without effort. Emotional asymmetry is dominance without display. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "I maintain emotional asymmetry." Number 19. The 19th principle is composure under observation. Many appear disciplined in private, but fracture when watched. Machiavelli understood that public composure builds authority faster than private discipline alone. Unshakable self-control remains intact under scrutiny. You do not perform calmness, you inhabit it. This consistency under observation reinforces trust and respect. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "My composure is constant." Number 20. The 20th principle is removal of urgency signals. Urgency invites pressure. Sun Tzu emphasized patience as a weapon. Unshakable self-control removes all signs of hurry. No rushed speech, no abrupt decisions, no visible anxiety. When urgency disappears, others lose their ability to rush or corner you. Time bends in your favor. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, I do not signal urgency. Number 21, the 21st principle is discipline neutrality. Neutrality is not passivity, it is control withheld. Robert Greene warned that overt positioning invites opposition. Unshakable self-control allows you to remain neutral while gathering information. You observe dynamics without attachment. This neutrality keeps options open and prevents premature commitment. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, I remain strategically neutral. Number 22, the 22nd principle is decision containment. Decisions lose power when broadcast prematurely. Machiavelli emphasized secrecy of intention. Unshakable self-control contains decisions until execution is inevitable. No announcement, no rehearsal. When action arrives fully formed, resistance is minimal because preparation was unseen. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, my decisions remain contained. Number 23, the 23rd principle is resilience to emotional contagion. Emotions spread quickly in groups. Sun Tzu emphasized maintaining internal order amid chaos. Unshakable self-control prevents absorption of surrounding emotional states. Panic, excitement, anger, or despair fail to penetrate. You remain centered while others fluctuate. Stability becomes your defining trait. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, I am immune to emotional contagion. Number 24, the 24th principle is authority through predictability to self. Others may find you unreadable, but you are predictable to yourself. Robert Greene emphasized internal consistency as the core of power. Unshakable self-control creates trust in your own responses. You know how you will act regardless of pressure. This internal reliability eliminates hesitation and doubt. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, I trust my own control. At this level, self-control reshapes how you are perceived before interaction even begins. You are no longer tested as often. Provocations soften or disappear, or manipulation or dissimulation avoids you entirely. This is not coincidence. It is recognition. Final layer remain. In the last part, the ultimate consequence of unshakable self-control will be revealed, how it creates dominance without conflict, leadership without declaration, and freedom from psychological influence altogether. At the final stage, self-control completes its transformation. It no longer feels like restraint. It becomes freedom. Not freedom to act impulsively, but freedom from being moved by anything external. This is the state Machiavelli alluded to but rarely named directly, the condition where influence cannot enter because there is nothing loose to grab. No exposed emotion, no urgency, no hunger for reaction. At this level, power is not exercised, it is assumed. Number 25, the 25th principle is psychological sovereignty. Sovereignty means nothing governs you from the outside. Machiavelli wrote that the most dangerous individual is the one who cannot be forced internally. Unshakable self-control establishes total ownership over attention, emotion, and response. You decide what matters. You decide what enters. External chaos loses authority the moment it meets internal order. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, I am psychologically sovereign. Number 26. The 26th principle is dominance through non-engagement. Not every challenge deserves acknowledgement. Sun Tzu emphasized that avoiding unnecessary battles preserves strength. Unshakable self-control allows you to bypass traps designed to drain energy. Silence replaces reaction. Absence replaces conflict. Non-engagement frustrates those who seek influence through disruption. Control is maintained by refusing the invitation entirely. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, I dominate through non-engagement. Number 27, the 27th principle is authority without friction. Most authority creates resistance because it pushes outward. Machiavelli understood that smooth control meets less opposition. Unshakable self-control generates authority that feels natural rather than imposed. Others comply not because they are pressured, but because resistance feels unnecessary. Friction disappears when your composure remains unchallenged. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "My authority creates no friction." Number 28. The 28th principle is emotional invisibility at scale. At earlier stages, emotions are contained. At this stage, they are nearly undetectable. Robert Greene noted that invisibility protects power. Unshakable self-control renders your emotional state unreadable across situations. Praise does not inflate, criticism does not penetrate. This emotional invisibility removes all leverage others might seek. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "My emotions are invisible." Number 29. The 29th principle is outcome indifference as leverage. When outcomes no longer control your emotional state, pressure collapses. Sun Tzu emphasized freedom from fear as the highest advantage. Unshakable self-control produces indifference not to purpose but to emotional attachment. You execute with precision, then release expectation. This detachment unsettles those who rely on stakes to influence behavior. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "I am indifferent to outcomes." Number 30. The 30th principle is leadership without display. Leaders are often identified by restraint, not volume. Machiavelli observed that people follow stability instinctively. Unshakable self-control positions you as a stabilizing force. Others orient themselves around your calm. Guidance emerges naturally without instruction. Leadership occurs without declaration. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "I lead through restraint." Number 31. The 31st principle is permanence of control. Temporary discipline collapses under fatigue. Permanent control adapts. Sun Tzu emphasized sustainability as victory. Unshakable self-control is not rigid. It is responsive without being reactive. It survives stress, delay, isolation, and pressure without erosion. This permanence separates mastery from effort. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "My control is permanent." Number 32. The 32nd principle is liberation from manipulation. Manipulation requires emotional entry points. Machiavelli understood that closed systems cannot be infiltrated. Unshakable self-control seals those entry points. Guilt fails. Fear fails. Provocation fails. Nothing lands because nothing is exposed. This is the final freedom, being unreachable psychologically. If this principle is understood, drop the affirmation in the comments, "I am unreachable." This is the dark rule behind unshakable self-control, not suppression, not denial. Command. When nothing outside you can dictate your inner state, influence reverses direction. You no longer react to the world. The world adjusts to you. Those who lack self-control are managed, those who master it cannot be moved. And those who cannot be moved quietly decide outcomes long before others realize control was ever contested.